right, gotta break out the camera. Let's see, come on, get adjusted. All right, my camera bag. I thought about doing a review on this little thing right here, you know what I'm saying? I did miss that Friday upload. We're off to a bad start. Welcome back, or whatever you want to call it. Okay. All right, so let me take all my little hoodie and stuff off. I know a lot of you guys are not aware of this, but the G37 sedan was not my first option when it came to buying a new car. I would like for you guys to comment down below what other cars you guys were looking for before you bought your G37. So the G37 sedan that I bought was one of the last, and basically just a lucky thing that I found. This car has been such a fun car, has made my channel what it is today. It will make my channel what it is in the future because I have way big plans for it. I do want to do a very extensive and crazy build. Why did I say crazy? It doesn't make sense. So my style is a little bit more conservative, plain and simple. I am not big into this whole wide body look, even though this boy Ruben
Today, Junior?
Ruby Smooth, something like that, right? God, I'm bad at coming up with these things right on the spot. Even though his G37 looks pretty clean, and I admire the kid for doing that because it takes a lot of guts to cut your car up like that, and he did such a good job. So the thing is that I'm not big into that type of scene.
They want the best of me now.
They want the best of me now.
Stand scene, that's not my scene. One of the first cars that I ever test drove was a G37 a while back, okay? And I decided to go ahead and test drive it. It was about $21,000. So I went into the dealership, had about $4,000 down. One of the problems with my income is that I'm a waiter, right? So I can't prove much on paper sometimes. Apparently, when they did my paperwork at this dealership, just to give me an estimate on a quote, they literally wanted me to put down about $10,000 to $12,000, and I was like, that's a little bit crazy because for $10,000 to $12,000, I can just buy something cash and not worry about having a payment for a month or years, for that matter. I think it was a 2013, and it only had about 36,000 miles. It was a pretty nice car, black on black as well. I really enjoyed it. That car, even though it was an auto, I felt like it picked up quick. There is that sluggish delay in the G37s with automatic transmissions. I felt it somewhat. I tried the paddle shifters. It was pretty responsive. There was that one delay where everybody talks about. So after a while that you have a car, you kind of pick up on when you have to shift in order to hit those perfect shifts. I was kind of happy to get into an automatic car, but I was just like, you know what? I've been driving auto for so long because I had a 2009 Altima before that. I got distracted with some car coming up. So I drove a 2009 Altima, and I kind of got tired of the whole CBT driving automatic for a while. The same day I was at the dealership, there was a 2011 Acura TL, which is another car that I considered driving, and I just decided to test drive it, and I can tell you this much. It was such a comfortable car. It was very smooth, and I really enjoyed it. I was considering buying that car too, but as soon as I went to do the whole paperwork thing too, they still wanted like a high down payment. Like, dude, what do you think? I'm made out of money? Like, $8,000 for a down payment Acura TL. Like, it doesn't make sense. I might as well save some more money and just buy one straight out cash, right? Bro, I swear to God, I hate when I'm vlogging and people drive past me just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what this kid doing? Look, here goes another one. Hey, bro, like, they ain't never seen no camera or what? Cars that I was considering getting into. I was planning to be part of the whole Mopar scene, right? You know, Mopar this, Mopar that. I was looking at a Challenger because I saw that the new Challengers had a pretty nice interior. And I wanted an RT though. I wanted to experience that whole B8 thing. I like that B8 rumble. I really wanted one. I also wanted a Dodge Charger, but figuring that I could even afford the 21,000 G37, I knew I was going to get denied right off the bat if I tried to apply for any of those cars. The down payment was going to be crazy, and I was just like, you know what? I'd rather not get denied. I'd rather not deal with it at all. Let me just start looking for other cars. So I started looking around. The Dodge Charger thing was out the door. Dodge Challenger RT thing was out the door because I knew I was not going to get approved right away. I knew I was going to probably get hit by the same thing that the other dealership told me, that I needed a high down payment due to my income and job. So I started looking at other chassis. So another option that I started looking at was the Hyundai Genesis, the 3.8, I think it was the R specs. I think that's what they're called. I started looking into those cars. So I started to get drawn into them because I kind of liked the way they look. I knew they had good power. I think it was like 349 horsepower, somewhere around that. If not, I'll post it somewhere where the correct HP is at. So I started looking into those, but I started to notice that a lot of them had a lot of high mileage, and I was just not ready to deal with all that stuff. I've never had Hyundai. I never knew if their motors are reliable or not. So that's something that I was kind of skeptical and scared to get into. I didn't want to put a down payment and a couple months down the road that motor is completely done for. Now, there was another car that I started to get into. As I started looking for Hyundai Genesis 3.8T videos of like Hyundai Genesis versus this versus that, I came up on 3.7 Mustangs because I saw that there was a lot of aftermarket support for these cars, and I saw how quick they could become. Sure, they're not a B8 and they would sound kind of funny because it's a B6, but at the end of the day, it was a fun car that it just seemed like it would like respond real well to mods. So I was like, this is interesting. I might want to get into this. I saw a couple ones run around my city too. There was I think his name is Grider. He had a 3.7 Mustang that was like pretty quick, and he would always post videos of him racing it, and I really enjoyed his content. I started to look them up, and they were pretty decent price, 13,000, 15,000, somewhere around that price range. I started looking around, but a lot of the times I realized that I was not a fan of the interior that much because it seemed kind of cheap to me at times. So interior is a big thing to me, because if a car has a very cheap interior, it kind of bothers me because you're inside the car most of the time. So that's why I didn't really see that car as a car that I wanted to get. Also, the back seats seem kind of useless. I did sit in a 2006 B6 Mustang before, and I swear to God, that thing was so tight. Like, I was really cramped back there. I'm not a small dude by any means. I'm 230, 5'8", so I'm not that small. This said 230, guys. I am kind of on the heavy side. So next up, I was like, you know what? I've been into the whole Honda scene since 2008. I was like, let me get back into this scene with a Honda Civic Si. So I started looking for a 9th Gen Civic Si. The 8th Gen was something I was considering, but all of them were either ragged out, were too high in price. For the price I was going to be paying, I might as well just buy a 9th Gen, right? Found a couple nice 9th Gens that I want to check out. I found a couple nice 9th Gen. Man, I can't even get this out. So I found a 2012 and up, whatever. Let's just put it that way. I wanted to go look at one. So as soon as I was going to make the drive to that dealership, the guy had sold the car. It was decently priced at $15,000, okay? So every time I found a Civic Si that I liked, it was usually around $20,000. Right off the bat, I got denied for a $21,000 loan with the other G37. So I was like, this is not even worth it. Plus, I don't know if it's my mentality or the way that I think, but the way I see it is, you're paying $20,000 for a Honda Civic. I mean, sure, it's an Si, it's a sports car, but for the price, you can always get something else, right? So I was like, you know what? I don't see myself paying $20,000 for a Honda Civic. That's the best way I could put it. I think once you get up there in life, it's like luxury car for $20,000, compact economy car for $20,000. So which one's gonna win? This one, of course, because it's gonna give you a much higher status level in a way, right? So I think that's the way I think sometimes. You see, this is a problem that I just couldn't see myself paying that much for a Honda Civic Si, because I was like, I'm gonna pay $20,000 for a loan. So it's gonna be $20,000 plus interest and all this stuff. At the end of the day, my payment might be around maybe $350, $390, depending on the interest rate that I get. So I was like, that's pretty high for a Honda Civic. I was like, I'm not ready to spend that kind of money. So it's just something that I always deal with in a way. Sure, the new Civic SIs look way different, and I'm kind of digging those. I found some for as cheap as $23,000. I literally thought about putting myself into debt for one of those. I know a lot of you guys are probably like, what? You don't want to spend $20,000 for a 9th Gen, but you're going to spend $23,000 for a 10th Gen? Like, I don't know. That's just me, dude. It's just a personal opinion. That's just what it is. I was kind of like in a rut, and finally one day I just decided, you know what? Let me try the G37 thing again. Went back online, went on Auto Trader, started looking them up, saw a couple of them. And then finally I decided, you know what, let me look up for a manual one, because I know G37s don't really come in manuals, especially in sedans. And this popped up. So after that, basically, that long story short, this is where we're at now. Is the car that I bought. I always do wonder what my channel would have been like, or where my channel would have gone if I would have chose a Mopar, a Genesis, or a Civic Si. Now, I know this for a fact. The Mopar community on YouTube is huge. So who knows where my channel would have been at. I don't regret getting this car at all, because content is content. I would have made the same type of content for that type of chassis. So that's nothing that I'm worried about. It's just that the Mopar community is so much bigger when it comes to that aspect. The Genesis, I started watching Random Rides Ryan, I think. That's who got me into the whole Genesis thing that I started to get interested in. I started watching his channel a lot because I wanted a Genesis like so bad, because I thought it was like a nice looking car. One of the reasons I wanted a Civic Si was just because I wanted another Honda. The Thong Man got me into the whole thing of wanting another one because his supercharged Si was putting in work. So I know that if I would have gotten the Honda, my views could have probably been bumped up. I would have probably been up there in subscribers as well, kind of with the whole Mopar thing. But I'm not regretting my choice, because at the end of the day, the G37 community is pretty chilled and laid back from what I've seen. Just don't get on a G37 driver, because, you know, some of those guys are pretty savages. So if you go in there, you better be ready, all right? I'm just telling you. You better have some hard, thick skin if you're going to go in that page, because they gonna tear you up if you don't come ready. So, with that being said, guys, I hope this was a very interesting video as to what cars I was looking at. So I am interested, god damn, boy, I can't even speak. So I am interested in hearing what you guys were thinking about getting before you got your G37. I always find that very amusing and interesting what other cars people were looking at. So, with that being said, guys, I hope you do guys subscribe, comment down below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.
I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want, so I'll take it on. I'll make mistakes, but mistakes make you strong. Let's break it down for a minute. I want the crown, I'm gon' get it. You hear me loud, man, I'm winning. Yeah, Charlie Sheen will be grinning. These ladies know that I'm sinning, and this is just the beginning. I'm closing in the night inning. There ain't no point in resisting. Living life like a dream.